Canada has gone full-on commie, and a hell of a lot of death and destruction is coming our way. Of course, the German party in the 30s is the most notorious, particularly in Canada, when you have far left-wingers teaching you history. But the death count on Stalin, Lenin's hands was much higher. The communists have always eliminated the most opponents, whether you're looking at Mao, Pol Pot. In Canada, we now live in a country where you're allowed to march in our streets chanting things like all the children's blood on your hands, intifada in our lifetime, which means violent revolution, burn Canadian flags, not a Canadian flag to be seen, foreign flags, masks on, can only see the slits of their eyes, fake body bags, fake blood on their hands, vile chants in a Canadian street, waving a foreign flag, chanting all the children's blood on your hands, and you are receiving a police escort. The Canadian people are paying for people to chant on our own streets, all the children's blood on your heads. That's what happens in a communist country. You know what else happens in a communist country? I was just eliminated from a social media platform with 30,000 followers because I criticized Canada's ridiculous immigration policies that have destroyed this country. Canada is the most insane of all the Western countries that have gone crazy. Canada is the absolute worst. We have allowed 8 million people into the country in the past 10 years. Anybody who's spent the entirety of their life in this country knows how radically it has changed. The amount of kneecaps, half the women walking around in major cities have kneecaps on. The amount of crack smoking is truly shocking. We have blatant terrorist supporters on our streets every day, and the government of Canada's response to this is to remove you from popular social media platforms if you point out the fact that it is their destructive policies that have absolutely destroyed this once great country, and they refuse to change. They're still going to allow another 1.5 million people in the country in 2025, despite all the destruction that's been brought on Canada. We have a 7.1% unemployment rate. We have a 22% youth unemployment rate among young males. And it's indisputable. The primary cause of all of this backlash, all of these major cultural issues that we're seeing in this country is immigration. And you know what they do? They pass Bill C-8, Bill C-9 that allow the government to widen the definition of hate speech. So funny, them widening the definition of hate speech when they allow foreigners on our streets every single day yelling the most hateful things you've ever heard in your life. But because they align themselves with the Liberal Party of Canada, over 80% of the 2 million Muslims in Canada now vote for the Liberal Party. They have absolutely no issue with it. Carte blanche, go ahead. Scream death to Canada, scream intifada in our lifetime, which means violent revolution. Scream all the children's blood on your heads. No problem. But me, an independent journalist working in Ottawa, pointing out how insane this country has gone. If I want to point any of that out, build a 30,000 person audience, the government of Canada removed me for so-called hate speech. This is what living in communism looks like. Every great writer from the Soviet era, whether it's Solzhenitsyn, Dostoevsky, said the defining feature of a communist party is that criminals are allowed to roam free and political opponents are locked up. That's exactly to a T what we're seeing in Canada right now. If you are ideologically aligned with the Liberal Party of Canada, which a massive, overwhelming percentage of both immigrants and Muslims are, for obvious reasons, carte blanche. You can roll your fake body bags in our streets. You can scream whatever vile anti-Western garbage you want to. Absolutely go for it. But if you're a Canadian who has ancestors who fought and died for this country valiantly, fought and died World War II, Vimy Ridge, and you want to point out the fact that you believe that this mass immigration, this mass immigration is destroying this country, these woke policies that say a man can become a woman can become a man, the trans flag, every single goddamn street you go to, how much money in a country with a 22% youth unemployment rate? Why do we have trans flags up everywhere you goddamn go? If you want to point out the ridiculousness of this woke ideology that is 100% certain to wind up leading to the destruction of this once great country, then you have to be silenced. You have to be silenced. Your internet, the Canadian government has the ability now, Bill C9, to cut your internet without any notification. They can just cut your internet if they don't know what to say. They just proved they can just slash your social media, say, nope, you're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to have a voice. They have expanded the definition of hate speech to include so-called fomentation of detestation and vilification. So arousing an emotion is now considered hate speech. I've heard a lot of stuff on our streets that I consider to be extremely hateful. Don't see any of those people getting arrested. Matter of fact, I think I see them getting police escorts. There is going to be so much death and destruction in Canada if we do not get rid of these commies. That's what they are. Carney's a tool of the WF of Davos of Brookfield Asset Management. They're commies in his cabinet. And what they're trying to do, they're trying to say, if you criticize our immigration policies, if you criticize our woke ideology, if you criticize our trans ideology, you're a bigot. You're not allowed to speak. It's so ridiculous. The fundamental pillar of our Western civilization, the fundamental pillar of being a human, is being allowed to voice your opinion, say what you feel about something. And they are communists always try to steal that from you, essentially to deperson you. If you're not allowed in a society to speak your mind and speak how you actually feel, you are not a free man anymore. We are living in Canada now on 1984 on strikes with the thought police. We literally have police officers when violent crimes are up over 100% in the past decade, thanks to Trudeau's ridiculously lax bail policies, as well as the fact is they've allowed at least 17,600 criminals into the country in the past 5 years alone. And this is known, and the number is certainly higher. They have allowed crime to absolutely skyrocket, and you know what they're going to do in response? Their response is always the common response. Is not they're going to fix the problem. They're going to go after anybody who points out the fact that they have caused all these issues in Canada. It's insanity. It's utter insanity. They create these destructive policies, and their solution to the creation of these destructive policies is not to say, how can we fix this? So, okay, we're going to cut immigration. By the way, there are 3 million temporary people in Canada right now. And Carney was just on an interview, and he was essentially being threatened by a man that if we try to get rid of the 3 million temporary people who are expiring, there's going to be violence in the streets. The Liberal Party of Canada has done doing absolutely everything they can do to destroy this country. The time is now to stand up, make some noise, say enough is enough. You are not stealing this great country. You are not destroying this great country. Our ancestors did not fight World War I, World War II valiantly to get blown up by a clown like Mark Carney, a total creep like Mark Carney, a creep like Anita Anand, a creep like Sean Fraser. You're not destroying this country. Clowns. Please like, share, subscribe, join, become a member. Support's more important than ever now. I appreciate so much everyone who's supported. Grab some gear. Like I said, like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much. Obviously, you can't follow me on TikTok now, but Canadian patriots are going to take this country back from these absolute cretins.